I'm Jake.
I'm Tom.
And we are VIMTV Velocities in Music. Today, an album I've been waiting for all damn year. Of Montreal, 2010, False Priest. This is an album, I heard about it early last spring, because some blog somewhere had posted an article where they had interviewed the lead singer and frontman for Of Montreal, Kevin Barnes, saying that they'd been recording, and he's been listening to a ton of Parliament, one of the best bands of all time. I don't care what your musical background is, it's Parliament. It's George Clinton. It's the best things. Put your sunglasses on so you can feel cool. And when you apply that to the new age of Montreal, which has gone from and I'm stealing this from some music reviewer, which has gone from, you know, bedroom kind of indie music to Prince, I want to be in your bedroom music, that cliche. You know, it's really turned into this highly electronic, very sexual, and I've seen Of Montreal live 3 times, and man, let me tell you something. Each show has been completely different, and the last one, Kevin Barnes, was just damn naked. He had a leotard on that was flesh-colored, that was it, and a Speedo, and that was it. I mean, and that kind of fit the music, because and False Priest is more a return to form. Of Montreal, for the past several albums, has been straying more and more towards electronica, beats, synths, and samples. And fans have kind of had mixed feelings about that, I know. I know I have. Because some of their older work was, you know, all indie, all real, authentic instruments and very authentic sounding, so it was kind of a clash between their older work and their newer work. That's something I actually appreciate, and with this album I feel like they just hybridized everything they've done in the past 4 or 5 releases is all come to this culmination, and they're still taking it to the next level.
I am very glad you said that, because from the first track, I Feel You Strutter, you get a lot of that vibe that you got from Skeletal Lamping. But the deal is, it kind of sets the mood, not wrong, because I love that song, but it almost gives you the wrong idea of what this album is all about, because really, this isn't too big of a departure from some of the stuff they've done in the past.
No, especially Skeletal Lamping. A lot of people didn't like Skeletal Lamping, which came out about halfway through 2008. Skeletal Lamping really wasn't that hard to get into. It's just the first track was really ambitious.
But there's a lot of stuff on here, especially in the bass lines and the drumming. Which, let me just say, the bass and the drums! Oh my god, it's so good on this album! Both of those highlights. I mean, Kevin Barnes' vocals and the guitar and everything is amazing, but damn, there are some sick rhythm section grooves on this record. You gotta check it out for that reason. But really, you get a lot of that, even when they were more kind of what you said, the bedroom indie sound, like Satanic Panic in the Attic. Now, that's when they were starting to kind of move towards some of the electronic elements. But, I mean, even before then, with the, you know, Gay Parade, stuff like that. But I felt like, you know, this actually fits into the Of Montreal discography pretty well. Some other things, one thing you got to mention is the lyrics. And when you're talking about this album, I don't know why I said you. I guess just in general you need to address the lyrics, because that's going to be an issue for some people. Some people are going to have trouble getting past the very abstract lyrics. Now, in this case, I felt like it worked. I actually felt the same way about the lyrics on this album as I did about, like, the Scissor Sisters album, Nightwork, overall. Because you can tell they're not taking it too seriously, and for that reason it works. They're having fun, they're just making these crazy, psychedelic, fun, bouncy grooves.
You fetishize the archetype?
Yes. and like, it doesn't bother me. And there's lots of wordiness in there that also bothers people. I don't see how you could have a problem with that and listen to bands like the Decemberists, for example, who Colin Malloy just goes like thesaurus overboard, I feel like sometimes. But I mean, yeah, you're going to have some crazy wordplay, but it matches the instrumental play also.
And Of Montreal, really, every song is so condensed with so many instruments and so much melody. And Tom mentioned, you know, the bass and drums, which is easily a highlight on this album. But one thing that's been present throughout Of Montreal's discography is really rich melodies, and whether they're doing that with bass lines, which they often do, which you don't see, or other guitars or synths, which the synths have really gave, I feel like, really add a much more aesthetic element to their sound. It's one of the few bands where I say electronics have actually helped some of their sound and diversified it, where instead of limited, like Linkin Park, which we'll talk about later.
It almost fills in the air around all the real instruments. It really thickens it up.
And it works with Kevin Barnes' high falsetto.
One thing I want to mention that I want to give huge kudos on this album, to this album for, is the use of double-tracked vocals. He does a lot. He knows exactly when the vocals need 2 layers and exactly when he needs to emphasize them by just having one in the forefront. And you get that a lot in track 3, Coquette, Coquette, which actually also has some of the best bass and drums. So overall,
and guitar.
That's just got kind of the best of everything. It's one of the best tracks on this album.
If any track of the last like 3 albums, I feel like that's the most return to form we've seen.
For sure. Yeah, definitely sounds like something from their early stuff. And so when you listen to this, pay attention to that. Pay attention when Kevin Barnes is just, there's just one of them, when there's obviously 2 or 3 of them, and they're split between the speakers, because, you know, these people think about these things, and they're doing this on purpose, because it creates an effect, and it creates contrast between when he's doing that and when he's not doing that.
Yeah, I feel like the production shines, too.
For sure.
And really, I love this album, and I felt like every track could be a standout, not a single, but a standout. But Tom, we were talking before we turned on the camera, and I really kind of agreed with you. I thought that at times, as a whole, this kind of does feel a little long at times.
Yeah.
I never really get bored during it. I love it all the way through, but I'm wondering if fans out there, if of Montreal listeners, will think that this does get a little long, a little tedious at times, where I notice it, but I don't mind it, sort of thing.
And that is really the only problem I had with this album. I liked every song on it, yet for some reason, once I got to around track 10, I felt like I was ready to be done with it, which I know, it doesn't make any sense when you like something and yet you're like, okay, I'm done. And I think the best way I could justify that is just in the fact that they've already just been pounding you over and over again with these terrific songs. So by that point, it's almost like it's like a sugar high, you know? Like you've had so much, and it's almost more than you can handle. And then it's like they've made this powerful statement, but then they're still talking, you know? And you're like, you don't ruin a good thing here of Montreal, you know? Which still doesn't make any sense, because even the last tracks are still good tracks. It's just like, it's just a little too long. It just shows that there's still something wrong here, and it's not in the individual tracks. Maybe it's the length of the album overall. Maybe it's the length of the individual tracks that adds up to that whole album length. I don't know.
Yeah, and there's a lot of really big, I don't want to say freakouts, but really melodic kind of funk jam outs.
Yeah.
That maybe could have been tailored down a bit.
Oh, for sure.
And maybe that kind of played key into it. But there's really no one song I would stay out that I would go, oh yeah, cut that one, you know?
Yeah.
My favorite tracks, Tom, were track 3, Coquette, Coquette, track 4, Godly Intersects, track 7, Like a Tourist, I love that song, and then track 11, which I thought was a big, nicely produced and nicely, it was just really exemplified of Montreal's songwriting. It's called Casualty of You.
I'm going to go the first 3 tracks, I Feel You Strutter, Our Riotous Defects, and Coquette, Coquette. Wow, right in a row. That was just bam, bam, bam to me. Terrific. And then track 9, A Girl Named Hello. Oh, just one of the sickest funky grooves ever. I'm like, yeah. It's just, I don't know how else to say it.
What do you rate this album?
You go first.
I'm gonna give this an 87. I think it's really strong. It's not quite in that 90s range where I'm gonna just love it forever and treasure it, but I think that this is a very strong of Montreal album. And someday I might have to rate all the of Montreal albums.
I did not think this would happen, but I'm gonna go higher than you. I'm gonna give this a 90. I'm
impressed.
I just love listening to this album. It's just so much fun, and for some reason, I just got into it. I don't even like Prince, so that makes no sense for me. But yeah, let us know what you thought, because Of Montreal has a very extensive discography, and we want to know how you think this fits into it. Do you think it's as good as we think it is, or are you more just like, the craziness kind of turns me off to it? Because that's understandable.
Let us know. We'd like to hear about it. YouTube, leave a comment. Velocities in Music, leave a comment. I'm Jake.
I'm Tom.
We are VIMTV, Movie Music Critique Forward.